Hello, everybody. This is What the Frick Live. You're listening here on 107.7 FM New Orleans. I'm your host, Emily, and I have Mr. Will Martinez with me from Dark Fringe Radio. Happy Friday.
Happy
March
Friday.
The 10th.
Yes,
March the
yes,
10th.
yes.
What a great day. And my birthday's on Monday. I'm just throwing that out there.
Happy birthday.
I am taking gifts. If anybody wants to know my P.O.
Happy
box
30th
address.
birthday.
It is 30. Hey,
That's
Nick.
right.
Hey, Lori. Good to see you all. We are live. We're also streaming live here on different
Hello, Nick. Hello, Lori.
Multimedia, social media. We are live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Rumble, and Twitter tonight. So if you're watching via YouTube, please, what is it? Ring that bell.
Ring that bell. Give us a shout out. Yeah, do something.
Get them all mixed up anymore. Nick says it's my 24th birthday. It is my 24th. We're always going to be 24. If y'all need to know more about that, I'll tell you later. But and then if you're on Rumble, please give us a positive Rumble because that helps us keep us in the algorithm. But we live on 107.7 FM. You listeners, we're going to be having call-ins soon.
Awesome.
Hopefully in the next month.
Yeah, it'll be awesome to actually get some feedback from the listeners there in New Orleans.
So Will's going to be in charge of that.
Oh, I see how I just got thrown into that, but that's okay. I'll take it.
Will's going to take all those questions and he's going to answer them. I'm just going to sit and just document and watch.
I love it. Okay, let's see what we can do.
We got Will from Dark Fringe Radio. Tell us, Will, a little bit what's going on with Dark Fringe.
So Dark Fringe Radio, you can check us out at darkfringeradio.com, and we're available also on YouTube and, of course, all social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. LinkedIn is my personal stuff. But nonetheless, you can check us out. Tomorrow, we're actually dropping another new episode. We're going to be talking about all those UFO sightings that's been going on lately. Those craft have been shot down. Is it real? Is it fake? Are they trying to push us away from what's going on? Especially with all these other things that are happening in the world, like, the war in Ukraine and that railroad that
Chinese.
The railroad that happened, that accident in Ohio. So still, people don't talk about this stuff. So again, this is, a lot of questions that we pose, but, tomorrow we'll be dropping that episode.
Awesome. I will be listening to that episode for sure. But tonight we have a awesome, wonderful guest coming on this evening. This is a part 2. So if anybody missed the part 1, the link is in the description, and you can go over to all of our different platforms and listen to it. But we have Chris Shelton. He's a Qigong master, influencer, teacher, healer, clinical director of Healthy Athletes Strong Minds program. He works with Special Olympics in Northern California, Nevada. His motto is, if he can do it, you can too. And I agree with that. I always say, if I can do it, you can also. So let's bring Chris onto the show. Hey, Chris.
Hey.
Good to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having me again. Last time was so much fun.
Oh, it was great. And we barely got to squeeze in like little facial readings at the very end. So we're going to get to that, everybody, tonight. But first and foremost, it's a word that I've kind of had a hard time saying because I'm Appalachia. Qigong. So
Qigong.
Qigong. Okay. So people have never heard of this before. And honestly, I never did either until I came across your profile on TikTok. Can you explain to people, real quickly about what Qigong is and how you got involved, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, so Qigong, the word Qi is the life force energy that emanates through all living things, seen and unseen. I mean, even the chair that you're living on a deeper level has a level of consciousness. If it didn't, all of those molecules would disappear into nothingness. So Qi, in this case, when we're talking about Qi, is this energy within our bodies that we're learning how to harness in order to improve our health and our overall well-being. So Gong is a skill. So when you hear Qigong, so like if you hear Gong Fu, that means skill with a fist. So Qigong in this case is teaching you how to harness this energy that's already contained within your body. Sure, you could tap into your environment as well too. And but most importantly, not only does it help you improve your health and well-being, but it helps you work on emotional trauma. And because most people don't know that different internal organs of the body house or store different emotions, negative emotions. And when those are not processed correctly, then that shows up as inflammation and disease. So my motto is that the superior doctor is one that can prevent disease before disease sets in. So how can I teach you to become your own superior doctor?
How do you do that? Like
It's
I need,
easy,
I
Emily.
need
We can
a little, I need a little action over here because I might need some over the weekend. Since
Yeah.
it's my big 42, and I've decided to grasp my 40s and let my gray. I have one little gray streak, and I'm decided I'm letting that grow out. So I need some help.
Yeah, I was just right before you brought me on. I was just in hair and makeup, and yeah, they got rid of my last few grays that I had going on. So I get it. Yeah, so there's two styles of qigong, at least that are two components. One is where we teach you certain practices, gentle moving and meditation practices, that are meant for you to be able to, improve your overall well-being. The other school of qigong is in clinical practice, because qigong is actually the foundation of acupuncture. So there's simple and gentle movements and guided meditations, but specific meditations. And what I tell people is that no matter how simplistic a practice is that I'm teaching you, it's all meant to do something medicinally inside the body. And it's not some kind of weird woo-woo thing. I'm a really grounded guy. And what I tell people is that try it out for yourself. What I love about it is that it does not discriminate against race, gender, age, religious background, spiritual background. What it does is it really gives you the tools, in particularly to deal with emotional trauma. Now, emotions, when we talk about negative emotions actually are good, because emotions are the barometer that help us gauge as to what's going on in our environment. When does it show up as disease? It shows up as disease when it's not processed properly or repressed, or even worse, if a person doesn't feel an emotion, like anger, for example. So when I see patients in clinic with lupus or Lyme disease, especially Lyme disease, the common thread is that the person doesn't feel anger. And so the body says, all right, you pretend like that didn't make you mad or didn't bother you, and or on a subconscious level, because a lot of times some people will say, yeah, I don't even get angry. I don't even know what that is. Well, unfortunately, your body stores it. And, and anger is actually a good emotion. Anger is there to help you fight for the underdog, to get out of a bad situation, or to create positive change in the world. But if it's causing you to repress it and you're not expressing it appropriately, it turns into depression, it turns into anxiety disorders, all types of bowel disorders. So IBS, colitis, Crohn's disease, acid reflux, you name it. It's a basis for strokes. It's also the basis for migraines for women that have menstrual
irregularities.
Yeah, thank you. It's that is as a result of that anger affecting the blood of the liver, which then affects the nervous system and shows up. So there's so many diseases that show up as a result. But again, these emotions are there for us to feel them and express them appropriately. It's when we hold on to them that it starts to show up as disease.
Will, I'll let you have a follow-up question to that one.
No, that's fine. That's
a lot of stuff going in my mind.
It makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, because like the old adage is like, when you talk to a woman, usually women are much more in tune with their bodies than men are, right? A woman can tell when she's like, her menstrual cycle is going to come, or maybe when she's going to be, she's pregnant, or things like that. So, for me, it's like it makes a lot of sense that this practice of learning your own body makes sense, because you're the only one that kind of are just the listening to your own body. So who would be the best barometer would be yourself. And now linking how to fix it is the hidden piece that most people just I guess neglect and don't know how to put the pieces together. But again, what I want to ask is, how does just like the normal everyday person help themselves get to that next level, or maybe start putting the pieces of that puzzle together?
So I have my first book that's out. It's called Qigong for Self-Refinement, Total Health with the 5 Elements. And in that book, I'm explaining the practices. And that book actually corresponds with my YouTube page, Chris Shelton Qigong. And I have the 30 days of Qigong on there. And it's like you're taking 30 weeks with me at my studio, my old studio in San Jose, California. And so each day I talk about the practice and then why we're doing the practice. So the first 20 minutes is an explanation. And then what is the medicinal aspect that we're going after here. And then from there, what happens is that then I teach the actual practice. So each day builds on top of the next. And so that's one avenue. Another avenue is, and we started this during the pandemic, is the Chi Club. And it's live on Zoom Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 8 to 8:30 a.m. 8 to 8:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And what's cool is we have people from all around the world and that are members. And it's a half-hour class. And if you can't watch it live, you have the recordings for up to a week. And what's cool about it is that as I'm teaching the class, for example, and I'm saying, okay, let's do this movement for the heart, or let's do this movement for the liver. I'm explaining, well, what are some of the functions of the liver? What are some of the functions of the heart besides the heart pumping blood and governing blood and such? I'm talking about the emotional component. So then what we do is that to make it into a more mindfulness practice, I'll say, for example, because most people don't know that anger, frustration, hatred, resentment, irritation, even somebody being too controlling affects the liver. And then this are all those illnesses or inflammatory diseases I was talking about. That's where it stems from. So I'll say, well, I want you to focus on a situation, past or present, who's involved, what's involved, and then feel that, visualize it. And then I want you to imagine a green cloud filling up into the liver. And the reason why is because the color green associates with the liver and the gallbladder. And then as you do the movement or the healing sound, you allow for that to release like a dark cloud going several feet away from the body and going deep into the ground. So unlike conventional therapy, where sometimes you go in there and they dig up stuff for you and it's kind of like they pick the scab and you leave there, you're like, oh man, I feel worse than what I did when I first walked in.
Oh, I've done that. Yes. I've done that in therapy.
Guilty.
Yeah. So I'm asking you to pick the scab, yes, but I'm giving you a practical tool that you could take with you everywhere or anywhere. And you don't need special clothing, don't need a special yoga mat or nothing like that. And the key difference here is that most people, like I said, don't understand or don't recognize, because they haven't been taught, that different emotions attack different organs. So if you connect with the emotion, connect with the circumstance, connect with the organ, and then also, like I said, you can imagine in color green, let's say if we're talking about the liver, all that's what creates the release in the body. And that's how the body transforms. Because how I transformed my life, how I got introduced into Qigong, it was simply because of, well, by fate. I mean, God definitely guided me, and this is what saved my life, because I was going to end up dead in prison or both. That's the direction of my life. But I had severe digestive problems that I lived on all kinds of medications, before I was introduced to Qigong, and I had everything done, upper GI, lower GI, and doctors couldn't figure out. Thank God they didn't take out my gallbladder, because a lot of the symptoms, a lot of symptoms, those physicians would have taken out that gallbladder. And after about 6 months of doing these Qigong practices, as my back was healing, the realization one day I woke up like, wow, when did I stop living on the antibiotics? When did I stop living on the Tums? And I had severe allergies and sinusitis. I lived on antibiotics and medication all the time. And it was just like this realization, like, wow, man, when did that go away? So I couldn't give you an exact pinpoint day, but one thing I can tell you is that it changed. And then from there, I realized, man, if a simple, gentle movement and specific meditation could do this to me, there must be something to the medicine. So that's when I started studying classical Chinese medicine.
So I have a follow-up question, and then I'd like to maybe possibly go into the face, because all these things are linked to facial features, right? So before we went live, we were talking about I went through a very, very hard time, and what helped me, and I have a relationship with Jesus. I'm a Christian too, and I believe in vibration. I do believe in that. And what helped me calm me down the most, especially in the evenings, because it felt like evenings were so bad, is the singing bowls, the vibrations of that. Now, Qigong, you're talking about movement, and then you're also talking about vibration. Is that the same?
Yep. It's the same as whether you're using tuning forks or or the singing bowls, it's giving off a vibration. All of us humans, we give off a vibration too. And
Yes.
Most of us, what will happen is that when we get too attached to worldly things, then what happens? It doesn't mean you can't have nice things and all that kind of stuff. It just means non-attachment. When you get too attached, that actually bogs down your energy. So yes, I'm talking about a vibration. I'm a Christian as well too. And what's interesting is that when I see a patient in clinic, I take something called SOAP notes, and which is taking on the intake and stuff like that. But when I go to take in the treatment strategy, when I go to write the treatment strategy, I believe it's Jesus communicating with me or something, because something will tell me, no, you need to do X, Y, and Z instead. And then what I do is I don't argue with it. And so that's how I ended up in Los Angeles, California, seeing all of my old friends, high profile clients, because of the results. Because yes, everything is a vibration. Everything resonates at a certain frequency. And what will happen is that as you undo these layers, so to speak, of past trauma, then your vibration becomes higher. And your understanding, so to me, when people say to communicate with God or to communicate with Christ, that comes in more when you silence the noise inside of yourself so you could hear the communication.
I'm glad you said that. There's a praise and worship song too I used. I think they use a lot of the high vibration, like, we talked about cat purring
frequency.
We got frequency, and the song actually goes away from the noise, alone with you, and that frequency that I used to play that song on over and over, even at nighttime, to fall asleep, and then I'd wake up and I'd hear it, and so the vibration. So with Qigong, do you have to do movements too along with vibration, or can you just use the vibration?
Well, what happens is that there's two aspects. There's healing sounds that you could actually make that resonate with specific internal organs of the body. Just like there's musical instruments that also will resonate with certain internal organs of the body. So you could your body actually already makes these. So I'm going to give you an example. One of my favorite practices when I'm a keynote speaker on disease prevention or whatnot, one of my favorite takeaways is the heart healing sound. The heart is the emperor, empress of the body. It dictates how much of an emotion is going to be expressed or suppressed. And so, for example, if you get afraid of something, what happens is that your heart races, right? Then your kidneys are affected. If you become angry, what happens? Your heart races, then your liver is affected. So anyways, the heart healing sound, actually, the negative emotion that specifically affects the heart is abandonment, loneliness, lack of joy, but overexcitation too. Did you know you could actually die of a heart attack from laughing too hard?
Yes. I have laughed so hard I got dizzy.
Yes.
I'm not joking. Like, it got tingly and everything. I have cheered my son's basketball too. I'll tell you this. I've cheered so much for my son's basketball. I've gotten dizzy too. I feel like there's something going on with my vagal. What is it? The Vegas nerve?
Vegas nerve.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've cheered so hard I thought I was going to pass out. I've laughed so hard I thought I was going to pass out.
Yeah. So at the end of the laughing like that, what is the first thing you and everybody else does? They go, right? Because the heart is trying to regain balance. If somebody is grieving the loss of somebody or a loved one or an animal had to be put to sleep, you hear them sigh or they hear them yawn a lot. Some people clinically will have chronic hiccups. And so the person will sigh, and that's the heart's way of trying to release. So the healing sound for the heart is ha. So all you do is, to make it into a mindfulness practice, is you focus on that broken heart or whatever that loss is. Imagine a pink cloud filling up into the chest as you inhale. As you exhale, ah. And that vibration helps to, that specific word, ha, H-A-A, ha, helps to release that stagnation or whatever that is inside the chest, inside the heart. And then this is how you heal it. So this is one form of a vibration, right? By doing some Qigong movements, you're changing your vibration because, number one, you're silencing the mind, right? You're going inward. And if you are connecting with your environment as you're doing these practices, that's going to further help to change this vibration. Again, most people that are very attached to the ego, You said something about a narcissist earlier today.
Yeah.
Narcissists are so attached to the ego and being right, that they actually operate at a very low frequency. They may be very intelligent and be very clever, but the vibration is very coarse, right? And so they're actually not happy people. And the reason why they lash out the way that they do, or try to make somebody else feel bad so they look right, is so that way they feel better about themselves. I know that I have a brother like that. So, it's just one of those things that everything is a vibration. So even in relationships, we are going to operate at a certain vibration, and it doesn't mean it's right or wrong, or that you're better than somebody else. What it means is that if you're operating at the higher vibration, you're not going to get attached to all the worldly drama that's going on. You'll be aware of it, but you're not going to allow it to affect you to where you have to act a certain way, behave a certain way, like what they're trying to get us to do right now. You can actually change your vibration by going inside, quieting the mind. And when your organs are operating way that they are supposed to, they are working interdependently. They are not working independently. When they work interdependently, then your life is vibrant, your health is vibrant, your spiritual openness or awareness is vibrant, and your mental health is vibrant as well too.
Chris, can I ask you a question? I wanted to know, like, what happens is, if you're a person that is trying to get yourself in the right, vibrational, path, and, trying to get yourself, set in that way, you do all the right things, but, maybe you have a partner or people that are around you that you maybe live with you, or whatever the case may be, that constantly give off that negative energy. What does a person do to kind of like maybe shield themselves from that, or maybe not, empathically take in, that obviously that energy that some people just unfortunately, do. Like, for instance, myself, if I'm around a lot of negative people, I feel it, and I can't deal with it too much. So I have to like separate myself from it. What can a person do?
That's a great question, because one of the things that they don't teach in our schools, especially elementary schools, is healthy boundaries. Right. And a lot of people believe that just because you're born into a family, that through thick or thin, no matter how they treat you, that you have to tolerate it. And my answer is no. My good friends, and we have lots of friends here in LA. My friends are my family. My brothers, because my parents are both passed away. My immediate family, my brothers, they're blocked. I have to have a boundary for them, because I recognize that I can't change them. So my recommendation is that if you get out of the environment, right? Number one, setting up a boundary of saying, okay, well, I can't change you, and we're open to have a discussion moving forward. If you change, if you also change too. So allowing for that ability to come in, but setting that boundary, of being able to say, no, this is not okay for me. You're not allowed to treat me this way. And your negativity, or if they're just very negative people, I don't need to be around you. And so what you, like they say, what you think about, you bring about. The quality of people that
surround yourself with
is how you become. Jim Rohn, who's one of my favorite speakers on character building and financial independence, he says, in order to surround yourself with beautiful people, make yourself beautiful. And what does that mean? That means you go inside you. So right, you have to change yourself.
I like that.
And so as you change yourself, what happens is that you're going to attract people. And it doesn't mean exteriorly beautiful. It could mean that, but it really means the people that get it, right? The people that, and we saw that over the last couple of years, the people that are awake and see what's going on, and the ones that unfortunately are still asleep, right? And so so you'll start to see these beautiful people show up. They're loving and supportive. And that's the thing, is that my closest friends that I have here will never, ever disrespect me, try to take advantage of me. And if I was being a butt, they'd say, hey, Chris, you're being a real ass right now, but I still love you anyways, right? and just being real, being true.
But Chris, I think as you as a person, you would take that into consideration. Am I really? I don't think people question themselves anymore. Am I the one that might be the problem here? It's usually people get super defended or offended, not defended, offended, and then they just exit you out of their life because they don't want to change themselves.
Correct. Yeah, that happens as well too. You know, that happens as well. So the key is that you always check in with yourself, and let's say if you're somebody, let's say, because some people say, Chris, you know, you're asking me to do these Qigong practices. I can't meditate. My mind is racing all the time. You know, Richard Rohr, the author Richard Rohr, you know, he talks about
him.
Yeah, he's a pastor. He has a number of books. Yeah,
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he talks about it. He calls it stinking thinking, and he has a book called I think it's called How to Breathe Underwater, and it correlates the Bible with the 12-step program, and he talks about you know, we talk about addiction like alcohol and all that kind of stuff, but how many of us are addicted to stinking thinking, right?
Oh, it's so easy. It's so easy to be sucked into that.
Right.
So one of the keys is that, and this is not necessarily a Qigong practice, this is just a consciousness practice, is that even if you can't stop yourself from going down the rabbit hole on a negative thought, if you check in with yourself and say, you know what, I'm going to be the witnesser. I can't stop these thoughts, but I am the witnesser of what I'm thinking. Now, guess what? Now you're consciously involved with those obsessive thoughts or those crazy thoughts that are going on right now. You're consciously aware. Now you're a participant in this, and instead of letting that mind just run havoc and run all over the place, you know, and then there's no accountability, right? There's no accountability. Right. And so you're checking in with yourself. I check in with myself. I used to be a very angry person years ago, and through these practices and suffering, I've been able to wake up. I'm not saying that I can't get angry or things can't get irritating to me, but I'm talk to my wife. I'm pretty chill, you know.
She knows it all.
Yeah,
we're gonna have her on the show.
Yeah, you should. Yeah. So anyways, this is a long-winded answer to your question, but I think that establishing the boundaries, because you know, Deepak Chopra, the physician, and he wrote a book with a brain surgeon a number of years ago called The Super Gene. And they talked about the helix of the DNA, and your DNA wants to be healthy. So even if you're born into an environment where there's a history of manic depression, or there's a history of bipolar or mania, or high blood pressure, whatever, most of that helix is actually healthy. There's only small components along that helix strand that shows those hereditary diseases. So what they found scientifically is that if you change your environment, change your diet, and change how you emotionally respond to situations and stimuli, you will not get the disease. And that's where Qigong comes in. And these practices are thousands of years old. And like I tell people, if it's something that was fake, it would have done itself in thousands of years ago. It wouldn't still be around today.
Listen, I've had cancer twice. I've beat it twice with herbal remedies. I'll just tell no chemo, radiation, but my pH level was what was. So with Qigong, when you're sitting here thinking about this, is this also, when you say diet, is it for us to be aware about our pH levels, the acid in our bodies to bring down the inflammation and everything too? Does that all mesh
it all meshes together because like in my world of nutrition, according to Chinese nutrition, food is medicine, not just food. And the difference between Western nutrition and Eastern nutrition is that in Eastern nutrition, we understand the value, the mineral values, the supplementation values that it comes with it, but also we recognize that different flavors of foods benefit certain different internal organs of the body. We also understand that cooking styles, believe it or not, changes the energetic properties of food. So I'm going to give you an example. If you take a raw onion, that raw onion is pungent in nature, and it's going to benefit the lungs. So anytime we have any lung abscesses, we have phlegm or pneumonia, we're going to recommend pungent foods, onions, garlic, ginger, mint, and those kinds of things. Now, if you take that same onion and you bake it, now that onion becomes energetically pungent and sweet. So now you're benefiting your lungs and your spleen. So you see the difference? So we're really looking at how different energetic properties of foods enhance the body or create disease or create a condition to get worse. So I'm going to give you another quick example about, since we brought up food. Let's say somebody's vomiting profusely in a fetal position. They have the classic stomach flu.
Right.
Well, you're not going to want to give them Gatorade because they're going to vomit more. You're not going to want to give them, what's that, kale pectate? What's that pink stuff? I don't know what that stuff is.
Pepto-Bismol.
Pepto-Bismol, yeah.
Okay, my son that just the other night. Sorry.
So instead, you're going to ask the patient, well, do you want something hot or cold? And if they say, and if they're in
cold.
Yeah, so if you're going to say cold, then they want energetically cold. So mint tea will help them. So yeah.
When I'm sick, I will go up to Dairy Queen because it's just at the end. And Dairy Queen's probably not the best choice. But when I'm super nauseated and nothing's helping me, a mint milkshake, a small mint milk, something with mint with me when I'm nauseated. So if I'm at the hospital, give me something cold.
Yeah, energetically cold.
Yeah.
Because warming foods, like if somebody was in a fetal position vomiting, then they would want something warming in nature. Because if you think about it, if somebody is contracted in a fetal position, what does cold do? It contracts, right? So that type of vomiting, then what you want to do is you want to give them ginger tea. The mint tea may make them vomit more. The ginger tea, though, will push the cold out of the system. So you see, so you ask these very basic questions. And the other thing, too, that people don't understand is cold raw diet, especially if it's cold outside, actually will show up as inflammation and disease as well, too. And people say, now, some people's constitution, they could tolerate it. And for the most part, if you're healthy, having a cold raw diet is not going to injure you. But if you have acid reflux or you have bad postnasal drip, for example, I saw that come in there. Postnasal drip, I would stay away from all cold and raw food. And what does that mean? That means that you blanch your vegetables. You don't overcook them. 2 to 3 minutes. So no ice, cold water, and those kinds of things. Again, it's an energy vibration. Food is an energy vibration. And so if you understand.
Hold on. That's interesting to me that you say you blanch them, because when I have really bad postnasal drip and all that stuff, I get in and have a hot steamed shower.
There you go. That
helps.
That opens up. Yeah. And then if you add some peppermint oil into that shower or something like that, some lavender oil or something, that will open it up more. So scientifically, most of our bodies operate at about 98.5 degrees, right? And so if you think about it, if you put something from the refrigerator or the ice box into your stomach's on average about 54, 55 degrees. Your stomach has to heat it up to 98.5 degrees to assimilate it. And guess what? That liver, your liver, who aids in digestion, it has over 800 functions in the body. Guess what? That liver, that cold then penetrates into the liver and binds the blood of the liver. So now further disrupting digestion, liver blood controls uterine blood. So then we could also start to see things with the menses and stuff like that as well too. So.
Well, I'll let you have a follow-up.
No, it's funny because I know you guys want to get to the face thing. I know that's your report. Everybody wants to talk about that. No, it's but one thing it's funny. It's like it reminds me of an old wives' tale my mom used to tell me. Like if somebody's cooking and they're upset, that food is not going to come out right.
Yes.
Right? I mean, that's my mom used to tell me that all the time, and every time that's happened, whether it was me or somebody else that was upset, and they ended up cooking. The food never came out right. It was just off.
That's why you never complain at a restaurant, everybody.
Well, yeah, that's why.
But
it was so true.
It
was so true. And she was so right. And it was like, it was like, where does that come from? And it's obviously it's back to elementary, what you're talking about all the energy going into the food. And if you're in that energy, thing of being negative, that's just going to go into whatever it is you're doing, right?
You totally. And so not only do we, when we look at nutrition, we look at, okay, how is a person eating? Right. Are they standing while eating? Are they arguing while eating?
Oh, I stand while I eat all the time.
Is that bad?
It's bad for you, they say. They want you to sit. They want you to be in the present moment, sit down. I mean, we're busy folks. We're on the go all the time, but I cook breakfast every morning. It's one of my meditations to do. And no matter how busy I am, I sit down and eat. Not being in the present. So watching TV all the time while eating, or watching something violent, or watching the news, right? And so we had a standing rule that with the kids that we had no heated discussions about school at the dinner table or before they went to school. right? There's no discussions around that. So we take in also how the person eats. And going back to vibration, yes, if a person is angry, yeah, that vibration. And I'm going to give you an example. So I was a butcher for 21 years, and I was a meat manager for part of that time. And part of my apprenticeship, I had to go to the slaughterhouses and watch them slaughter the animals and the chickens and all that kind of stuff, right? So some of those cattle coming in there, they have no idea what's going on, but some of them have the fear of God in their eyes. They know something's around the corner. Anyways, if an animal's scared at the time of slaughter, what happens is that the meat turns purple. Now, we used to call it back in the day, we call it cutter beef. And they would tell us to sell it anyways because it doesn't taste any different. But now after studying energy and vibration and all this kind of stuff, I realized that, oh yeah, it's purple. It may not taste any different, but guess what you're eating? You're eating the fear, you're eating the cortisol, you're eating the adrenaline. That
everything is in there.
Yeah, and that's what you're putting into your body.
That's why they say when you go hunting and you go hog hunting, for instance, that you want to kill the hog as quick as possible because a lot of times they end up suffering and all that stuff goes into the meat and the meat goes bad. So
yeah, and I recommend like kosher butchering and such, because the animal's blessed. Or grass fed. Those animals need to be on open pasture, feeding on grass, not being fed cord. And so how the animal's taken care of is of utmost importance. And so this is a whole another subject that we
because this is making me worry about like the attack on our farmlands and what happened in East Palestine, which is 2 hours from me.
Oh man. No. Yeah. Well, we're seeing what's happening with the food chain, right? We see what is coming around the corner. And you have to be aware.
I did my own research last year called America on Fire with all of the burning down. It was way more than what anybody else was putting out there. I was on several podcasts with it, but they're burning it down. Our chickens, cows, all that stuff.
Yeah,
this is crazy. Yeah. So this just means part 3, Chris, is all I'm going to say. Part 3.
Yeah, I'd love to be able to get. We can go down that rabbit hole too, and we serve people from all walks of life, and one of the things, our biggest thing is self-empowerment, and self-empowerment comes through knowledge. I'm not going to force feed you knowledge. I'm going to give you little tidbits of information. Now you can take it or leave it. It's up to you. But I say, try it out. Research more. Research different podcasts, news organizations, whatever. The information is out there if you want to educate yourself as to what's going on. And and the key is that to be aware because you're a contributing factor to the whole. So even if you're somebody that's not going out there rioting, burning down, breaking in, building windows or whatever, being part of a demonstration or whatever. But if you're sitting inside your house and you're egging this on, like you're like, this is a good thing. Because the country's been so divided now. And if whatever side that you're on and you're egging on that behavior and stuff like that, guess what? Even though you're sitting inside the house, that vibration still connects to the it's a connection. It's a
spiritual warfare.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how far away the person is. We're all interconnected. I was talking to my boxing coach this morning before heading over here, and one of his good friends had just passed away, and like I told my coach, when people say that we're all separate, we're not. We're all integrated. Yeah. We're all integrated, and we all have to face that one moment when we transition. Right. So death is something that none of us are escaping. And so we really have to look at how can we be harmonious with ourselves first, love ourselves, change our own internal vibration. And then that's how you change the vibration of the planet. This idea of the war on fentanyl, I saw an article, or the war in Ukraine, we're going to create more war. Well, you have that kind of rhetoric, and guess what? That's an energetic vibration that's going to resonate out there. Or I hear people say, oh, I'm going to have a war against the anti-vaxxers. I mean, how many people I heard say that, people that weren't vaccinated should be shot and killed. We have to stop and look at how those words penetrate outwards. But even
your
those
words have power.
power, but you're also injuring yourself too, and don't realize that you're actually injuring yourself too. So one of the things I love about Qigong, going back to it, is that it gives you tools to deal with day-to-day trauma and events that's going on. And it's really about you taking control of the steering wheel and say, you know what, I'm going to self-empower myself, and I'm going to transform. My destiny, whatever that destiny is changeable. It's changeable. And that's the great thing about being a human being, is that we could reinvent ourselves at any point in time. Any point in time. Only species on the planet that really could reinvent themselves, their career, their trajectory, whatever. You know, we have that ability. And the nice thing, as you peel away these layers and your vibration increases through a practice like Qigong or Tai Chi, is that now you're open up to higher vibrations of people, opportunities. I mean, it just keeps on going.
So with all this energy, we hold a lot of it in our face. I'm one of these people that I cannot hide my expressions anymore. Like, the older you get, the more you can't hide that stuff.
That is so true. That is so true.
So I have questions dealing with the face. We did some face readings the last time, but mine is kind of on the like dark side.
Okay.
Like with serial killers. We did the last time you were on, we did the what's his face, the Idaho 4. Remember? Do you remember him? The Kohlberger.
Yep.
And things. I have this, and Will has. I'm trying to add it. Okay, Will has some questions about some other people too. We did Cody Brown, Sister Wives. That was spot on. And then we did Brian Kohlberger. But real quick, before we get into these facial features that you can read somebody just by their face, like how does that tie in with Qigong, Chinese face reading?
So yeah, so the development of Chinese face reading thousands of years ago was as a result that physicians at the time didn't think it was appropriate to touch women to diagnose them. So they had to come up with a way to diagnose without touching. And so each part of your face connects to a different internal organ of the body, or maybe there's a couple of features. For example, like your ears, your philtrum, your chin, lower cheek or upper cheek area connects to your kidneys. And so we could tell things, for example, the way that we use it is we could tell potential diseases inside the body. We could tell if somebody has heartbreak. We could tell if they have mitral valve conditions or a chance for low or high blood pressure. We can tell diabetes, all that kind of stuff. But the other thing it tells us too is the personality. And it tells us how the person thinks, and then what emotions are actually stuck and is the driving force behind their actions or the way that they perceive the world, because everything is a perception. So now when we talk about face reading, like the little clips that I put on my TikTok page, I'm only calling out little like single features. Generally speaking, the more advanced way to do this is to combine features together, because some features will enhance maybe somebody's control issues, for example, or some other features may take away how controlling that person is. And, you know, maybe they just internalize their anger more. So the more advanced, proper way to do it. But what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to introduce people that, yes, you know, we store these emotions in our tissues, and it actually shows up on our face. We can actually tell by looking at somebody how somebody thinks, you know, whether they're a gut person, like they rely upon their gut, or they're a practical person. So then you know how to communicate better. And what's fun, it's fun to read other people's faces, but people that take my face reading class, it's really an introspection into yourself.
Can you tell us about Will?
You know,
since he was my co-host, what, 2 years, 2.5? Will?
Yes.
And
yeah.
he's back.
Yeah.
He's back. My son's like, the OG is in the house. He's
No.
like, can you? I never put my co-host on the spot, but might as well. Like,
That's fine.
Yeah. So
Okay.
So just some simple things. So, well, was your father more of the influence in your life? Because no. Mother?
Yes.
Mother's more of the influence. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But also too, he has more of a you have a great stamina. He has a lot of energy, so he's giving with his energy. His money, if he trusts you, then that's okay. But he's what we call as like an earth person. So he thinks a lot. He thinks a lot, but he trusts. He trusts he makes decisions from his gut. A lot of his decisions are from his gut. And then because there's a stubborn streak, that once he
is stubborn. He is
I am
stubborn.
stubborn.
yeah,
I am
so,
like a
so
mule.
once he decides to make it, once he makes a decision on something, and sticks his heels in, it's going to be hard to budge him.
That's right. That's why he's back on What the Frick Live.
Yeah,
That's pretty spot on, Chris. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
You know, so I'm very careful when people say read me, you know,
Yes.
because you know, I was given a talk to trauma nurses and doctors from 3 major hospitals 4 or 5 years ago, and the keynote speaker before me was a top brain surgeon from Stanford, and he was talking about head traumas and hematomas and stuff like that. I was like, oh man, how am I going to compare to this guy? And I was like, oh, Chris, just own it, right? So I get up there, you know, and sure enough, I had some physicians up front. There's about 67 nurses and doctors in the room with their arms crossed like this, you know. And so to sell the end of the talk, what happened was that they called up a couple of the trauma nurses. Well, at the end of this talk, a nurse came up to me, punched me in the shoulder. She said, Chris, you have to have a filter on your mouth. And the reason why was because I was just being honest. You know, I wanted everybody to see. And the reason why, this is the cool thing though, the reason why they had me speaking was that certain lines and features that the Chinese have said on the face represent certain diseases. Now Western medicine has started to say, yes, that line or that feature actually means this. So they're now starting to catch on. So
play catch up.
Look, I've seen like crow's feet off your eyes or something is linked. Is that what you're kind of talking about? Like the lines like that?
Well, yeah, all the
lines around your mouth.
All the lines around your mouth, the lips. And so anyways, this gal, she comes up and I said, well, I said, you're a very giving person, hence the reason why you work trauma. But I said, you're awfully cruel to your husband. The whole crowd went up and, you know, and she goes, well, and I said, well, not so much maybe in person, but behind closed doors, he's in for it, you know. Anyway, so I'm very careful of what I see. But, you know, crow's feet depends. If the lines go down, then that's past regrets and sorrows.
Line goes up, it's been happy, right? You feel like
especially if there's like a few lines that go out horizontally and up from the outside of the eyes, those are people that flirt a lot. So you can play around with them. You can play around.
I need injections. I'm just kidding. I'm
kidding. or you just not flirting as much. That's all.
I never leave my house. I'm not flirting. But I do have questions because we did the Brian Kohlberger. Now I have Ted Bundy up here. These serial killers, because I'm all about true crime. Do they all carry like same characteristics in their face? Have you noticed a pattern?
Well, you know, I haven't really studied, you know, serial killers.
You haven't come to the dark side.
No. In my face reading class, what we do is the very last class we read the last 5 presidents, which is a lot of fun to do.
Hold on.
But going back to Ted.
Here we go. Here's Ted Bundy. There's Brad Kohlberger. There's Ted Bundy, and there's a last president, George Bush.
Okay.
So I think he looks like Ted Bundy. That's why I threw him in there.
Are you saying that he's a serial killer?
I think he's got something going on down there in Texas.
Do you know something we don't know?
I think so. Don't you think he looks like Ted Bundy?
Kind of, yeah.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Okay, so
what do they have in common here?
Okay, so Bush there, he has what we call as a crooked mouth. Now, normally, and same with the guy up on right above him too, has a crooked mouth. You see how when the lips are together, see how that line is a little bit wavy where the lips meet? Mm-hmm. The more wavy that line is, the more that the person tends to lie or bend the truth.
Kohlberger though, over there on the he's the Idaho 4 possible murderer. It looks like that's straight, the top.
Well, he didn't lie about anything. He got caught and he told everybody, yeah, I did it. So
yeah. So you tell, but I'm going to say though that of these 4 pictures, the common thing that I'm seeing is the deep set eyes, meaning they first of all, yes, they may be attacking and killing these other people, but they're number one, they're in their head a lot, they think a lot, they're very self-critical. So if dad had had more, well, it could, when I say a father or mother, it could be like a very strong mother having very masculine
oh, there we go with George Bush's mom's conspiracy.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
And so it doesn't necessarily mean a man. It just means that whoever was the primary person to raise, they had very masculine traits about them. And so we see the deep set eyes like that. So they brood a lot. So they're very self-critical, but they're critical of others. And the eyes are small like that because they don't trust. They don't trust. They are conniving. And then anybody, especially with thinner lips, when you have the thin lips like that, then they tend to be more cold. Now, the guy that killed the 4 college students, if you see on the outside corners of his lips, he has what we call his hollows. See those little holes in the forehead?
Yeah.
So he has weak self-esteem. His self-esteem is.
Well, they said he used to get made fun of a lot in high school because he was really overweight then, and then he became addicted to drugs to lose that weight.
Yeah, so you can see that still his self-esteem is still weak. But I would say the common thing is the size of the forehead. They're thinkers. The brow bone. They're angry. Also internally angry, meaning they brood over their anger, and they probably keeps them up at night and such. And we tell that from the subtle lines in between the eyebrows there, and then testosterone, the amount of testosterone that they have. We can tell that by the bushiness of the eyebrows and the chin, the strength of the chin. Look at everybody has a strong chin here.
Yes, they do.
So they have a strong will to survive, a strong,
never give up.
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah. And the one up on top there, is that Ted Bundy up there on the very
Yeah, Ted Bundy top right, Ted Bundy lower left. If you're
Yeah,
looking at the screen.
so up on the top right picture, you can see that he's burning at that point in time in his life. He's burning the candles at both ends. You see the 3 whites around his eyes there. That means he's burning his adrenal system. Normally, you'd only see like George Bush there. You'd only see the cellular on the left and the right side. But when people you can see underneath, or they call it 4 white sides of the eye, where you could actually see the around the iris is whites around the eyes. So if you see that, they're really bugging out and burning the candles at both ends.
Speaking of go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry.
One interesting thing though about serial killers is that they found, at least according to Lillian Bridges, who has a book called The Face Reader, in her book she says that celebrities or people in the public spotlight who have 3 or 4 white, or especially 4 white sides around their eyes, are more prone to suicide attempts. Wow. Or somebody trying to kill them. Yeah, somebody trying to kill them. There's something in the psyche.
Question about the eyes, because I was diagnosed about 2 years ago with thyroid eye disease, and I have lid lag, is what they call it. When my eyes can go down, especially if I'm under a lot of stress and things like that. Like you will see a delay in my eyelid looking down or looking back up. We can call them crazy eyes. Wendy Williams, which she has the Graves' disease part of that. I don't have that. I have lid lag from thyroid eye disease. Can you tell? I mean, the eyes is like a gateway to your soul. I mean, you can tell. So when somebody has that shifting, can you tell like there's something else going on with them other than maybe not like emotional, but health-wise?
Well, yes, we could tell the health of it. But again, even in Graves' disease and in that condition that you're talking about, is not processing anger properly and resentment. That's what that is. And
so when I'm stressed out, I'm angry. And so that's why it acts out a lot more.
Yeah. So one of the things that the liver does is it controls your eyes. And now the luster of the eyes is controlled from your heart, but the eyes itself, it's the liver.
Because my doctor told me if I drink more alcohol too, not that I drink a whole lot, but she said if you drink more alcohol, it can flare your lid lag.
Totally. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a liver dysfunction, that's for sure.
Well, so let's speak. Ed, I have this, and then I have one that we got about 5 minutes left here.
Oh wow.
Britney Spears, and then I have one that Will sent me today, Dave Chappelle.
Oh.
But so this is obviously has been airbrushed, but here's her, and then I'm going to put them both together. She's been on lithium for a very long time, supposedly. Yeah. And drugs can change somebody's face shape. Can you tell us, like, what you see between these two?
Yeah, she's such a talented artist. You know, I was so happy to hear that she was able to get her money back from her dad. She put in all that hard work. But yes, so you can see the eyes, around the eyes is dark. Now that could be makeup as well too, but it's sunken in. Like if you look at the picture where she's wearing the white blouse there, her eyes are more sunken in. On the cheekbone. I'm not talking about the eyes itself, because she does have what we call deep set eyes, how far back the eyes go. That shows a kidney dehydration. And addiction, we talk about any kind of addiction or over-the-counter drugs or alcohol, whatever, it affects the liver and the kidneys and the pancreas as well too. And so what you're seeing is a kidney dehydration, kidney deficiency. And also too, you barely see it on the outside of her temples there, but you see because they're sunk in. That's the sign of addiction. We see people with they're prone, and it could be to porn, it could be not just to chemicals and drugs and such, or alcohol, but and addiction. It seems like though between this younger picture and this picture here, her heart got softer, meaning her heart opened up more, because her eye shape actually changed to kind of down.
Yeah, it looks down.
See how it goes down like this a little bit? Now, if they went the other way, then that's somebody that tends to be more mean, or, but when it turns down like this, then they have, like, she probably loves animals and
I'm sure she does.
Yeah, creature comforts and stuff like that, but past regrets, yeah. So.
We got Steve Chappelle now, or not Dave Chappelle. No, sorry, Dave Chappelle. I'm glad you do, and I'm glad that maybe possibly Will does, but I want to see what you say about his face.
Well, if we could zoom in a little bit more. So obviously the guy laughs a lot.
Hold on a second, I want to zoom in.
And one of the things that we can tell somebody laughs at like I don't know if you ever, there we go. I don't know if like he'll laugh at like goofy things too, like Benny Hill. I don't know if you remember Benny Hill back in the day, and
my favorite.
Airplane, the movie Airplane, that kind of slapstick comedy type stuff. Like he'll laugh at that kind of stuff as well too. He's going to have a long life. We can tell that because the size of his ears, his philtrum, and his chin. And he's a champion. I don't know his full background at all, but the way that his chin goes means that he's a champion for the underdog. So what's bad about him being slammed by these different groups is that if you really listen to what the man is saying, he's not putting anybody down. He's really a champion for the underdog. He's gotten I think he's gotten a bad rap. He has a lot of energy, stamina, good stamina as well too. He sees the bigger picture in things. I think his mom has more of the influence in her life, in his life, and he could take care of himself, but he doesn't mind having somebody take care of him. And he's definitely a thinker. That guy is definitely in his head a lot, and we can tell also he has lots of.
Do you think he could be rude and mean?
Sure, he has. You can see by the brow bone and the eyebrows. Yeah, he has a temper. He has a temper that he could be controlling. Well,
I worked for a high-end security company, and we had security guards for him, and he called me to talk to me on the phone. It was the most, he cussed me out. He called me all kinds of names. I told him I don't get paid enough to deal with him, and I was going to let the CEO of the company follow up with him. So I let him do that. And the CEO of the company backed me, and we actually let him go as a client.
Oh, wow.
But I don't know if he's under the influence of alcohol or anything like that. But I talked to him one other time before that. But that night was absolutely crazy. And I picked up the phone, and it was like, I had no clue what was happening, screaming. Like, it was awful. It was him.
Yeah, no. So you see that in the strength of his brow bone. You see that in the strength of his eyebrows itself. And but also too, now that we're calling this out, is that his moods shift. His moods will shift like a manic shift. It can shift, and we can tell
he was definitely manic that night.
Yeah, because we can tell this by the pointiness of his ears, kind of like Mr. Spock,
Okay.
kind of the same type of thing. And so you can tell that And I wonder, by now I'm looking at his ears more, if he had health issues when he was younger as well too, at different periods in his life. But he could definitely get angry, he'd definitely be controlling. But whatever he'd gone through tends to make him, like I said, at least according to what it looks like on his chin, a champion for the underdog, and whatever that means, So
just a note to self on Tinder: I will not swipe right with guys with pointy ears. That's it. Everybody listen to this right now. No guys with pointy ears.
That is so funny.
But Chris, real quick, we're gonna have to let you go, and then we'll close out the show. Can you tell people? I have your website, your social medias in the description, but people via radio on 107.7 FM here. Can you tell everybody where they can find you?
You go to sheltonqigong.com. That's the website. All my social media handles are Chris Shelton Qigong, and it's spelled QYGONG. Same thing with YouTube. TikTok is Chris_Shelton_Qigong, and we show up little videos on there. And we have a teacher training program. We have, like I said, the Qi Club that's live. So if you want to deal with stress, and that Qi Club, by the way, was very powerful during the lockdown, because people were stuck in fear.
I can imagine. Yeah.
And so we have that. We also have a mastermind program, and then later on this year, my new book on how to fix back pain is coming out yourself. How to Fix Back Pain Yourself is coming out later on this year, and also my new film documentary called A Healer's Journey is coming out.
Love documentaries. I'm gonna have to watch that.
Yeah, so it's hitting the film festival later this year. So a lot of exciting things. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on What the Frick Live. We're gonna have to have you come back if you'll have.
There's so many topics that we could definitely talk about.
I know.
Definitely.
My wife says that she goes, we need to just put you in the box. But every time she tries to put me in the box, my arm falls out, my leg falls out.
Well, we appreciate you so much. So thank you so much, Chris, and we'll let you go.
You, Chris.
And we'll talk to you next time.
Be blessed. All right.
Thank you.
There we go. We have Chris Shelton. Qigong.
Yes. Qigong. Look.
Everybody. That's actually really nice.
Isn't it, right? That noise?
That was really nice.
Yeah.
I got addicted to those, and I want my own quartz. Uh-oh. We don't know what happened to you. He Qigonged himself.
I Qigonged myself out.
I don't know what happened to you.
I Qigonged myself out. There we go. No, my camera gave out for some reason. Yeah, no. So it was weird.
That vibration went to a whole other level.
Yes, it did. Yeah, it was pointed in a different direction. Oh boy, yeah. For those that are just listening, you have no idea what we're talking about, but yeah.
Listen to the show playback. Next week we're off. Next Friday is St. Patty's Day. Monday's my birthday.
Yes.
St. Patty's my dad's
Happy birthday.
Yeah, so we're off next week, but we're going to be back the following week with Dean Bertram, Midwest Weird Fest. I love Dean.
Very
He's
nice.
awesome. So he has a lot of talk shows and stuff. He's super weird fest weirdo. So
awesome. Looking forward to it.
He's in good crowd. So thank you everybody for tuning on, and we'll see you again not next Friday, Friday after that at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on 107.7 FM New Orleans and on all of our social medias. Love you all. Have a great night.